There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart around us. It's as if the years have been swept away by an invisible wind of loss, wrong choices, silent battles, and paths that led nowhere. Maybe you're carrying the weight of years that feel wasted, in relationships that never blossomed, plans that died before they began, illnesses that held you back, or seasons when your faith felt as dry as a desert. But I want you to understand something deeply today. God never wastes any pain. More than that, He specializes in restoring what time has destroyed. The word says in Joel 2:25, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." And this verse isn't just poetic, it's a spiritual truth. The people of Israel went through devastating destruction caused by locusts. Yes, it was a consequence of disobedience, but even then, the Lord looked upon them with mercy and promised to give back everything that was lost. Not just the harvest, not just provision, but also hope, joy, and fellowship with Him. And it's the same for you. It doesn't matter whether you caused the mess yourself or life just knocked you down. God isn't interested in pointing fingers. He's interested in restoring your soul, renewing your spirit, and filling your days with purpose again. Maybe you're reading this and feeling like nothing makes sense anymore. But let me remind you, what seems like a period today, in God's hands might just be a comma. He's writing a new story. And even what seemed lost can be used by Him as raw material for something glorious. If you believe God can restore your lost years, comment below. I believe in God's restoration. How many times have you thought, there's no way out this time? It's like the mistakes have piled up so high that you can't even see a way forward. Broken relationships, missed opportunities, rushed decisions that led to painful consequences. All of it builds up inside us like emotional debris, suffocating any hope of a fresh start. But let me share a spiritual secret the enemy doesn't want you to know. God is a specialist in new beginnings. Where the world sees an ending, He sees the perfect place to start again. He doesn't just forgive, He rebuilds. And He doesn't rebuild just anything. He makes it new and better. When God promises to restore the years the locusts have eaten, He's not saying He'll give you back exactly what you lost. Sometimes He gives you something even greater, something you didn't even know you needed. He turns pain into testimony, failure into strength, and chaos into purpose. Because He's not bound by calendars or human timelines. His time is redemptive. Think about it. The people of Israel saw their harvest destroyed. It was their livelihood, their family's future, the food for their children, and it all came crashing down. But when God restored them, He didn't just bring back the crops. He restored their faith, their connection with the sacred, and the dignity of a broken people. And that, my brother, my sister, is worth far more than any harvest. You're not reading this by accident. This word is for you who thought your time had run out, that it was too late, that the damage was too deep. Nothing is too great for the God who created the universe. He can rewrite your story, starting right now. And He will, if you let Him. If you believe God can still change your story, comment, "Nothing is lost for God." There are some pains we can't even put into words. It's an inner silence that screams louder than any external noise. Those seasons when you ask yourself, why did I have to go through this? Or, what's the point of all this? And sometimes the worst part isn't what happened. It's the time that was dragged along with the pain. Years that feel like they were swallowed up by meaningless suffering. But here's the truth. In God, no tear is ever wasted. Not a single moment of pain goes unnoticed. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Do you know what that means? Even the pain is part of the plan. What hurt you can also grow you. What wounded you can also strengthen you. God turns every scar into a mark of victory. What was meant to destroy you, He uses to lift you up. Have you ever stopped to think that your testimony might be the answer to someone else's prayer? That the story you've lived, with all the falls, all the shame, all the darkness, might be the light for someone standing right where you once stood? When God restores your lost years, He doesn't rewind time. He uses what's behind you as fuel for what's ahead. Your pain is not a period, it's a divine comma, preparing you to write a new chapter full of spiritual authority, healing, and purpose. If this word spoke to your heart, comment, "My pain will produce purpose." It's in life's deserts that faith stops being theory and becomes practice. When everything around you feels dry, directionless, colorless, that's when the roots of your trust in God begin to go deeper. Because in comfort, we give thanks. But in the desert, we learn to depend. God never promised a life without battles, but He did promise we would never be alone. And it's precisely in that walk through the nothing that we begin to see He's in the everything. He's in the strength to get out of bed, in the peace that comes out of nowhere, in the tear that turns into prayer, in the invisible details that hold us together on the inside. When God allows you to go through a season of apparent loss, it's not because He wants to see you suffer. It's because He's birthing something in you that could only be born there. He's strengthening your faith, teaching you to trust in the unseen, to walk without a map, guided only by His voice. And do you know what happens next? You come out of that desert changed, more sensitive to God's voice, more aware of your purpose, stronger than you ever imagined you could be. You're not weak because you cried. You're strong because you kept going even through the tears. And this faith that grew in scarcity will sustain you in the abundance that's coming. If you're going through a desert season, comment, "Even in the desert, I trust God." Many people ask for restoration the way they'd ask for a home renovation. Just a little paint here, a quick fix there, patch up what's visible. But God doesn't do cosmetic repairs. He works in deep reconstruction. What He wants to do in you isn't just to ease the pain, it's to transform your very essence. He starts where no one can see, deep inside your soul, in the place where you've stored old wounds, painful memories, guilt you don't even admit to yourself. God goes straight to the root because He doesn't want you to merely survive. He wants you to live fully. There are resentments we normalize, traumas we call tough seasons, fears we disguise as being cautious. But God knows all those hiding places. And when He enters, He shines grace into the darkest corners, sweeps out the mess with mercy, and rebuilds your identity with love. That's what restoration is. It's not going back to who you were before the pain. It's becoming someone who never would have existed if God hadn't used that pain as a tool for shaping you. And let me tell you, when He's done, you'll look in the mirror and finally see someone free, someone light, someone whole. You don't have to carry what was never yours. You don't have to repeat cycles that keep hurting you. You don't have to keep pretending to be strong on the outside while falling apart inside. Surrender everything. Trust everything, because God doesn't restore halfway. He transforms completely. If you feel like God is working on the foundations of your life, comment, "Lord, make your home in me." There's something powerful about surviving pain. You realize that what broke you yesterday can become the strength that lifts you today. But more than that, what hurt you might be exactly what heals someone else. We tend to hide the ugliest chapters of our story, the ones filled with shame, guilt, failure, sin, darkness. But what if I told you those are exactly the chapters God wants to use? Because what embarrasses you today might be what sets someone else free tomorrow. Your testimony is a seed of healing. When you share what you've been through and how God restored you, you're telling someone, You're not alone. I've been there, and God brought me out, and that's worth more than 1,000 sermons. The Bible is full of stories like that. Moses was afraid, David fell hard, Peter denied Jesus, and still they became powerful examples of faith, because God never wastes a broken story. He turns pain into bridges, wounds into windows, tragedies into messages of hope. Have you ever thought about how many people need to hear exactly what you've lived? How many are praying for a sign, and your testimony could be that sign? Don't stay silent. Don't hide what God is doing in your life. Your vulnerability could be the answer to someone's prayer. Be a voice, be a light, be a bridge. Because when God restores, He doesn't just want you to live better. He wants you to carry light into places that were once full of darkness. If you want your story to be used by God, comment, "Use my life, Lord." There are days when smiling feels impossible, when exhaustion becomes a burden and your soul doesn't even have the strength to cry. On days like that, we realize just how fragile the world's version of joy really is. It depends on your bank account, people's moods, or whether life is going according to plan. But the joy that comes from God, that joy isn't based on circumstances. It's based on His presence. Psalm 51:12 says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me." This verse isn't about a fleeting happiness. It's about a joy that springs from certainty. The certainty that even in the middle of chaos, you're not alone. That there's purpose in the pain, grace in the fall, and light at the end of the tunnel. When God begins to restore your life, one of the first things He gives back is your joy. But it's not the same as before. It's a matured joy, one that doesn't get shaken by every storm, that doesn't depend on likes, compliments, or outward success. It's the joy of someone who knows they are loved, forgiven, and guided by a faithful Father. This joy is strength. It's spiritual. It's an invisible shield against the arrows of discouragement. Even when everything seems to go wrong, it holds you up from the inside. Even when the tears fall, it whispers, God is still here. It's the joy of hope, of promises, of the deep assurance that the best is yet to come. And if today you're not feeling that joy, that's okay. Ask for it. Cry out for it. God delights in restoring weary hearts, and He will do it for you. 2, not because you deserve it, but because He loves to see you truly smile with a light soul and eyes shining with faith. If you believe God will restore your joy, comment, "My strength comes from the joy of the Lord." Have you ever felt like you were stuck in a dead end, like every path was blocked and nothing could ever change? The frustration of closed doors, stalled dreams, and prayers that seem to go unanswered. It's heartbreaking. And in moments like these, it's easy to think, I missed my chance. It's too late now. But let me remind you of something powerful. God doesn't need an opening in the system. He creates a way where no one else sees a way. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This isn't just a metaphor, it's a real promise. God specializes in making a way right in the middle of the impossible. He doesn't just restore what was lost. He ushers in seasons you never even imagined. He changes circumstances, rebuilds futures, and surprises you with opportunities far beyond human expectation. You may have lost a door, but God can open a gate. You may have heard a definite no, but God has the final word. And sometimes He closes what you wanted most, just to protect you from something you couldn't yet see. God's restoration is creative. It doesn't copy the past, it creates the new. And when He decides to move, no time, no mistake, no person can stand in the way. Because what comes from Him will arrive. And when it does, nothing can stop it. So if all you see today is the desert, don't lose hope. The rain is coming, and what looked like a dry, lifeless place will bloom before your eyes. Because the same God who promises a way in the wilderness is the one who turns broken stories into miracles. If you believe God is going to open a new way for you, comment, "I believe in God's new beginning." When we talk about restoration, many people think only of external things, possessions, opportunities, dreams. But the restoration God offers is much more complete. It's total. It begins in the soul, moves through the spirit, and even reaches the body. Because He knows it's no use giving you blessings if inside you're still broken. God heals old traumas. That abandonment you've never spoken about, that rejection you swallowed behind a fake smile, the disappointment you buried but still affects your choices, God touches all of that, not to expose you, but to set you free, to show you He was there the whole time, that you were never invisible to Him. Restoration also reaches relationships. He heals wounds between parents and children, between siblings, couples, friends. He repairs bonds that seemed far too broken, because where His love enters, pride leaves. Where His grace touches, forgiveness flows. And when true forgiveness happens, healing begins. And yes, God restores the body too. It's not just emotional or spiritual. He renews strength, brings energy, heals sickness, and restores what medicine can't explain. Because He is still the God who heals. Your life doesn't have to be just medicine and routine. It can be marked by miracles. And finally, He renews the mind. That repetitive thought of failure, the insecurity that paralyzes you, the comparison that wounds, all of it is undone in His presence. He clears your vision, aligns your focus, and brings peace back to your inner world. You begin to see yourself through the eyes of a loving Father, not as someone who failed, but as someone who's been restored. You're in a divine process. And when God starts something, He finishes it. And He finishes it well. He doesn't abandon the clay until it becomes a vessel, and you are a masterpiece in His hands. If you believe God is healing you completely, comment, "Total healing, Lord, in me." You've made it this far, and that alone is a powerful sign. God is at work. Maybe you don't see the full picture yet. Maybe you're still in the middle of the process, but don't doubt this. The one who began the good work is faithful to complete it, and He won't stop halfway. God's promise of restoration isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about total transformation. It's God lifting you from the dust and standing you up with purpose. It's looking back and saying, "It hurt, but it was worth it. It broke me, but it built me. I suffered, but I survived. And now I live with a new meaning." Psalm 30:11-12 says, "You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord my God, I will praise you forever." This is the inheritance of those who trust in God, a heart no longer stuck in the past, but singing for what is still to come. God's restoration doesn't leave you longing for what was. It ignites hope for what will be. You no longer live trying to recover yesterday. You live preparing for tomorrow. Because when God steps in, what's ahead is always greater than what's behind. You are not adrift. You are being guided. You are not forgotten. You are being shaped. You are not lost. You are being repositioned. God is pushing you toward your destiny, and nothing and no one can stop what He has already declared over your life. Get ready. What's coming is not crumbs. It's a full table. It's the reward of someone who endured. It's the harvest after the tears. It's the promise fulfilled. Because with God, the best is never behind you. The best is always yet to come. If you receive this word, comment, "The best of God is still to come in my life."